Yeah. And we have people from Brilliant. Hey. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Digital Innovation Pavilion. It's my pleasure and privilege to welcome this panel of builders, innovators, and experts in each of their respective spaces. So their expertise is really varied, so we'll get a great overview of the space, and each of them will drill down into the areas that interest them. So we're going to start. Each of the presenters will tell us about their background, how they got into climate, and what they're working on today. We have the wonderful Anirban Chatterjee, Suchi Rana, Nicola Attico, Sofia Fomenova, and Daniele Bernigotti, last but not least. So let's kick off. We have some slides from the ServiceNow team. So we'll kick off with you. And yeah, please introduce yourselves.
All right, I can go first.
Okay, so this is Nicola Attico from ServiceNow. I work in the ServiceNow innovation team, and my role is blockchain DLT solution engineer. So I'm working with blockchain DLT related innovations.
You want me to go first? Next? Okay, sure. Hey, everyone. Yeah, great. Can you hear me okay? Yes. My name is Shuchi. I am also a part of ServiceNow. I am on the venture side. Been with ServiceNow for about a year and a half. Started out in our innovation team with Nicola and have since moved to our ventures team. So I'm a part of our corporate venture arm called ServiceNow Ventures. We invest in product adjacent technologies to ServiceNow. Been investing for a few years, I would say 5 or 6, deployed about $350 million so far, and committed $1 billion by 2026. So we will be deploying some capital in the next, I would say 2 to 3 years. And late stage, Series B+. So very excited to be here. Thanks for including me. And here we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello.
Should we quickly go through?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's easy.
So this is Anirban Chatterjee, and I am basically, my functional role is business development, sales marketing, but then technically I'm an ESG and kind of a digital MRV and digitalization risk management professional. Overall, kind of 15 years of experience into the industry, very closely associated in the certification verification from very beginning, and seen the evolvement of this entire standards and how the corporates and financial institutes are basically started disclosing their non-financial performance, specifically into the carbon side of it. And now of late last 2-3 years we're very actively working on the product carbon footprint side, product stewardship. And now with the evolving of carbon market, we are also looking at how digital MRV systems ecosystem can be built, and we can play a role of our verifiers capability. So looking forward to have a conversation with all of you and learn how technology and we can kind of understand the confluence of it. And then Sophia.
Thank you. My name is Sophia. So first of all, thank you so much for having me here. It's my pleasure to be surrounded by such wonderful professionals. I'm a co-founder of Net Zero. Net Zero is a carbon management platform that helps large businesses like Fortune 500 companies and also governments with carbon management. We use a lot of automation and AI and combine it with sustainability and profitability, making sure that it's easy for large organizations to measure, reduce, and report carbon emissions, and do it in a profitable manner, in a way that it makes sense for businesses. I'm a co-founder of the business, and I am mainly responsible for sales and marketing. We are based here in Dubai. We also have offices in Monaco and London. And yeah, our main priority is to help large organizations transition to net zero. And yeah, I'm here to facilitate the process.
Thank you, Sofia. Good morning. I'm Daniele Pernigotti. I'm the CEO of Equilibria consultant company working mainly in carbon management, but I also a large experience in standardization. I am the chair of the European Technical Committee on Climate Change, and also had the pleasure to lead the ISO working group to develop a standard on carbon footprint of product you mentioned before, ISO 14067. And from other side, I also leading a national program operator, Carbon Footprint Italy, that is a system to guarantee the communication, the quality of the communication on carbon footprint, but maybe we discuss later. Thank you so much.
So I would like to, maybe if I can start, I would like to give a little bit of introduction and overview about what ServiceNow is doing in that field. And I don't know how much you know about ServiceNow. ServiceNow is a big cloud software as a service company. It was established in 2003. And currently it counts more than 8,000 enterprise customers around the world. So the impact in the corporate enterprise space is big, huge, I would say. And is not specifically on sustainability. We offer products across IT workflows, employee and HR, customer service, operations management, and we are also a development platform for enterprise workflow. One of our offering specifically is about sustainability. It's called the ESG Command Center, and there is a component called ESG management that allows all kind of goal setting and reporting about sustainability is adopted by customer in order to disclose the progression towards their sustainability goals. And zooming one level on the sustainability offering on the innovation side of ServiceNow, we are specifically experimenting, I would say, and innovating across blockchain and DLT related integration. And as part of that, we met with Hedera, and ServiceNow became part of the Hedera Governing Council. I think it was almost 3 years ago now. And we have built across different workflows with Hedera, not just sustainability. Hedera is a council of prospectively 39 company governing the network. ServiceNow has been an active governing council member over the last 3 years, but not just that, has also been a user of the network for their own use cases. So the intersection between sustainability and clouds and blockchain is extremely interesting and innovating. And as part of that, we have identified a very promising area in the let's say management of climate assets on the ServiceNow platform. Hedera in that space is the leading ledger, I would say, with a very powerful architecture based out of the Guardian as well, which is a open source tokenization platform for sustainability. And so we are basically starting to build on that foundation to allow our customers to manage all the life cycle of sustainability assets with ServiceNow, the Guardian, and Hedera. And the life cycle of a climate asset is something which is kind of fascinating, which is moving from, let's say, the generation side. One kind of assets that we have covered with the first release of the regenerative finance application are renewable energy credits. Carbon offsets, of course, are another kind of assets that we want to tackle. But renewable energy credits is very interesting because many of our customers manage solar energy in some shape or forms. Different kind of companies, manufacturing, telco, banking, many of them has some form of linkage with renewable energy, especially solar panels. And so the generation side is an interesting part. How do we create those climate assets in such a way that we can ensure that the rules have been followed to generate them, and there can be public trust on the asset that has been created? This is a very interesting problem to address. And the other issue that we think is very interesting is let's say, the life cycle of those assets after the initial generations. How do we allow customers to either retire those assets in a provable way, or how do we allow them to, let's say, trade those assets with public carbon marketplace, and blockchain-related public carbon marketplace are becoming a reality, and they are starting to see the level of adoptions that will bring to let's say, the critical mass that is required to make them fully, let's say, integrated in the day-to-day activities. So in that context, also we are integrating with public marketplace providers in such a way that the life cycle of the assets from the customer perspective can be seamless, not just on the let's say, generation and supply side, so to speak, but also on the demand side. And while the generation of the climate assets can be something specific to a few companies, the consumptions of those assets is something that is interesting for everyone. So linking the carbon accounting, which is currently possible with the ESG management application, and potentially also allow customers to tokenize emissions, which come out of that kind of reportings, and, let's say, retiring consistently the renewable energy credits or carbon offsets more let's say, directly towards the carbon emissions. It's a process that, if followed end to end, provide a very high level of consistency and transparency to the entire ecosystem. So we want to be at the forefront of this kind of innovation, and we are working to make that happen with enterprise customers. And
I'm gonna have maybe
Yeah.
Daniele go next. Yeah.
Yep. Daniel, you would like.
Yeah. Now we can come back to me.
Okay, no problem. Yes, I mentioned before that one part of our activities in connection with the consultancy on the quantification of the emissions of following the ISO standard. But maybe what could be more interesting here is the part related to the management of program operators, called following the ISO terminology. It means that it is a platform where you may find the impact, the carbon footprint of product and organization, only when these product organizations are quantified following, again, the ISO rules. We are quite strict in the idea to respect the ISO rules, because we know there are a lot of different platforms quantifying the carbon emission, but also the quality, credibility of the information is fundamental. And so the rules is for the quantification, but there are also rules for the verification and the rules for the accreditation. So we call the quality infrastructure. And then you may maybe add something directly in connection with this point. And so it is one part of the process. But the idea is that through this platform, we want to give trustable information on the market, and also allow the company that want to communicate to have a solid base for the communication. And this was the initial part of our idea. But then we realized that in some way the company want to maintain the information updated on the platform. So in some way the platform is also a space where you may show the improvement over years of your performance. So the initial performance is the baseline, let me say, is something that should be frozen because when you need to compare over years, keep to be sure that the initial information is not modifiable. And this was the part of initial contact with the blockchain, because we thought that creating a passport with the information linked to the blockchain methodology was a way to guarantee the solidity of this kind of information. And another project was in connection with the blockchain, is related to a new program that we developed, biochar carbon credits. So the possibility to okay. Show must go on. Okay, and the creation of carbon credit of biochar, and in this case we develop a platform, probably as you described it before, Nicola. So the idea that all the different activity of the process for the generation of carbon credit is managed with a blockchain methodology. So from the beginning, from the design of the project, for the validation, the verification, then certification, the issuance of the credits, and then the retirement of the credits. And this is fundamental. I think this is an area where blockchain is fundamental, because to avoid the duplication, the double counting of the credits, and even to have not transparent information, something that's very critical in the case of carbon credits. So this is an example where we had the opportunity to work with the blockchain, and we believe that is a very interesting experience from our side. I don't know if I jump to you, so in direction of verification.
It could be, I think, complementing what you just said. I would only reflect one thing. Now, if you look at the global regulations also related to, kind of not only the carbon voluntary carbon market, but in general the disclosure, the corporates are required, or any disclosing party is required to now apply more rigor into the process. Basically, in another few years, the footprint verifications and all would be as similar as a financial kind of an audit. So from that point of view, digital technology will play a very important role, because otherwise, kind of verifiers like us, with of course a limited resources to come do the physical verification, will not be able to cope up. If you look at CSRD and other disclosure, I'm just talking from a disclosure point of view. It's very important that apart from the accuracy of the data, you have to also look at the reliability of the system, like from how the data is being captured. Organization having kind of multi-site operation in different geographies, in different complexities. It's very important there is a harmonized system which is there, where the the particular parameter is tracked with the help of IoT devices, or wherever it is automation possible, and kind of a platform is there internally and externally to assure. And in fact, Daniel, if you see the latest ISO standard, there is a net zero ISO standard also is coming, ISO 14068, which will talk about how the granular monitoring of the net zero commitment can also be done. So, like, for example, next could be Sophia, who will share the reflection on how the technology or her platform might do it. I would only say that it's very important for the assurance providers nowadays, because in the kind of we are equally accountable, right? While we are verifying our data, giving a certificate to a corporate, or verifying a particular project, seeking carbon credit, it's very important that we own, I mean, the ownership lies equally with all the stakeholder, and to do that, that will bring the trust back. If there at all there is a erosion of that trust, at least in the voluntary carbon market, to some extent. But then when there will be a sovereign backed kind of mechanisms and all, what we are seeing, we are all hopeful that some more progress will happen this year in the COP. I guess these are the few areas we have to really be reflective on from an assurance and verification standpoint. Yeah, maybe.
Do you want to go first? Thank you. Very interesting. Thank you so much. I think we come into the process of carbon management a bit before than verification. But when it comes to carbon measurement specifically, three of the main challenges that we see on the daily basis. The first one is access to data. Both internally and externally. So to give you an example, one of our clients in automotive industry, they have dozens of offices, more than 100,000 people working across the globe, more than 5,000 big suppliers for Scope 3 emissions as well. So access of the data is definitely one of the challenges, because if you look at the data, it's all disorganized, whether it's internally or externally. There are issues like transparency, gaps, and so on. So the second challenge for us is to know how to first access the data, and then how to collect it, analyze it, cluster it, put it into the platform as well. For both of this, we use AI, obviously, because it's absolutely impossible to do manually. And we do it through more than 10,000 API integrations, for example, or through insights with machine learning, for example, that get the data visually from invoices. But then the third, and this is more relevant to this conversation, the third challenge is making sure that this data is verifiable. So the way we address it is we collect the true source of data, the raw data, making sure that it is verifiable by the company. But when it comes to suppliers specifically, it is a very big challenge. And this is why it's very interesting. It would be interesting for me to talk to you for us to make sure that when we collect the data, we need to make sure that it's 100% reliable and trustworthy and verified as well. In terms of our service specifically, again, we come in where we help businesses to measure and reduce, right? So the data is just one challenge. When it comes to reduction, we use a lot of digital technology and artificial intelligence specifically to help businesses to strategize and come up with plans which have the most effective approach in terms of decarbonization potential, but also cost as well. So that's a slightly different topic, but for our clients, it's a very important one, massively important, because once we measure, we collect the data and so on, the question is what's next, right? So we all have those targets that we want to achieve. But then many of our clients specifically, they see sustainability as a cost, which we don't like. So after speaking to dozens of huge companies, we've realized that we want to change this narrative. We want to make sure that reduction is exciting for them, and they see it as a way to at least save money, if not to make money as well. So it needs to be profitable for them, should make business sense and protect their bottom lines as well. So talking about digital innovation there, we use technologies like Macker, for example, is a good example, a tool that helps you to visualize all the data in one dashboard, and you can compare the decarbonization potential with the cost visually in the same platform. So again, there it becomes much easier for sustainability managers to make decisions, to know who to involve, whether internally, and we have tools like action cards, for example, to encourage people to work on it internally, or you can invite suppliers, again, work with them on their initiatives, see how they come into your own strategy, and so on. A few other tools. I mean, I can talk about tools a lot, although it is a little bit technical. Markov is definitely my favorite. Action cards, they do get a little bit complicated, but again, with a client who's got more than 100,000 employees across the globe, and sustainability teams, again, around the whole world. It's fascinating to see how they organize their action cards, how they track how they keep accountability when they achieve, and also scenario planning, for example, mixed with those action cards. So once you use predictive AI technology, for example, you can understand and plan those initiatives and see if it's going to move the needle. Because very often you talk to companies and they're like, oh yeah, we're trying to reduce our scope 1 and 2 emissions, and we're going to switch to green electricity, for example. And then when you plan it out, you see that it's actually not going to move the needle much. And most of their carbon emissions are in scope 3, like 85% for most of our clients, because we do work with industries like manufacturing, transportation, logistics, shipping, those kind of industries. So it's very interesting to apply automation and AI to help them decarbonize practically. Yeah, so this is where we come in. Very excited to hear more and learn about verification as well, and work with all of you on that front. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I had the opportunity to sit through a lot of conversations over the last 2 days, right? And one theme that emerged for me is there's a lot of data that exists already, but how do you make that data actionable, right? And how do you, climate in particular, there's like so many stakeholders. How do you make sure they're connected in a way? And back to our, I'm going to expand a little bit on what Nicola said, and also a big shout out to the HBAR Foundation, Wes and Hedera for our collaborations over the years. But so what ServiceNow is, back to our ESG management product, and ServiceNow in particular. So we started out in IT, and we're core to, I would say, the business of a lot of large enterprises. When you want to get an understanding of what ESG in particular is for an entire enterprise, you're looking for, there's many data points, right? So how do you get access to all of that? For us, we started out about 20 years ago in IT. So we worked in, it was IT service management, IT operations management, asset management, and then since have moved to different business functions within the business. So we moved to, we have customer workflows, we have employee workflows, and we have a fourth category called creator workflows, which is low code, no code, drag, drop stuff and build your own workflows. So we have, I think one of our advantages is because we sit across all the business functions, we have access to data, and customers trust us with their data, right? The data already exists. All you need to do is, and then we built ESG management on top of it. So it's like we built it to solve our own problem, because ServiceNow also, of course, has its own net zero targets by 2030. We already have a carbon neutral cloud, which is, and several other metrics that we kind of measure ourselves against. So it started out as a problem that we wanted to solve for ourselves. Then we got adoption within our customer base. So now we have quite a few customers that are using the product. And then that's one side of things. So there's the measuring, monitoring, and reporting on ESG. And of course, then there's the offset side, right? Which is where a lot of companies, our partners, come into play, Hedera being one. There's a few companies in the Hedera ecosystem that we're working with, and Nicola already spoke about it. So I think it's how do you bring the ecosystem together to solve the problem, and you connect the different pieces and make the data that comes out of that actionable and hold yourself accountable, right? So how do you set goals? That's another thing that we need to take into account. So in my personal journey in climate, I started a lot with Hedera and a lot during our innovation, my time with the innovation team. Also, now that I'm a part of the fund, well, our ESG management product also gave me an understanding of how the space works. So I have a lot of people, a lot of products to give credit to in the entire ecosystem. And it's constant learning. And I feel like the ecosystem, the products in the system will hopefully all come together at some point to actually tackle this big challenge that we have ahead of us. But and then there's, yeah, so I'm very excited to be a part of this and be included. So
brilliant. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. If you're happy to do so, I'd love to hear about everyone else's journey into
I think in my case, it has been driven by my experience in ServiceNow. I'm in the company since 10 years. And I also started in IT with tools and and products to manage IT workflows. But the beauty of ServiceNow is that it's really a platform for enterprises where they can manage all their processes, and the company evolved in different areas like HR, customer service, and sustainability. And that was the opportunity for me to learn more about that space. And I think the more important parts are really the conversation with customers, like always. I mean, ESG is a mature offering from ServiceNow, and it's adopted by many of our customers. But talking specifically about the regenerative finance application that we built in collaboration with Hedera, we are having conversation now with customers to implement it and adopt it. Customer in Asia Pac, for some reason, have been quite active on that topic. So we are specifically working, for example, with a couple of customers. One of them being a telco company, which is not just telco; it's a little bit of everything technology for the Philippines. And they are very enthusiastic about the concept of climate assets on distributed ledger, and they are really pushing to become an active actor in the region. And they have a huge amount of solar panels, and they are kind of having them as a service. So they are acquiring as a service from third parties, and I think this is where the ecosystem play with climate assets and blockchain comes into play, because yes, we started speaking with that company, but then we started speaking also with the provider of solar energy. And I think this is truly the point where blockchain needs to take off, and there must be an inflection point where that happens, which is related to critical mass, because one only company doing that doesn't scale by definition, I would say, and two company doesn't scale either. But when they start to be 3 and 4 and they recognize themselves around standards, this is where truly the game could become extremely interesting. And I think this is the very moment where we are building this awareness in enterprises that this can truly be a game changer. I mean, finance is not different. I mean, cryptocurrencies are controversial by definition, and many, let's say, financial institutions they still have let's say a mixed view about that topic. But I think a space like sustainability, which is building up now, can really take the opportunity to start on a ledger and technology which truly makes sense and provide the transparency. So this is what motivates me, because I think this is what could potentially change the game. And I think we are in the moment where these things are deciding in a way. And I mean, it's an opportunity for all of us to play a role in that in that process. So yeah, this is where I'm coming from.
Now, should we follow the line? Or? See, from my perspective, you want a kind of a personal journey, or okay, yeah, okay. See, I remember a very interesting, kind of incident way back in 2009 or 8 maybe, yeah. I've just started kind of entering into professions as kind of just after graduation, and there was a kind of an event which was talking about that how in India, of course, how the Indian regulations should be looking at beyond the pollution control. Okay, like the SOx, NOx, and the industry parameters. That time, the global warming and kind of things are still not. Of course, it was there, but it's still not that kind of frenzy kind of terms. So one of the regulator that time, kind of representative shared that if we are really looking at industrialization to go to the next phase, we have to also look at the the love side of the industrialization, what is we are creating as a waste or as part of the energy transition. So personally, I also thought that I think this is the way the red industries are growing, and it would be very much imperative in few years that the regulations and the voluntary disclosures for climate change will really catch up. And it has happened over 5 years, then throughout my career in manufacturing, then TIC industry, in financial institute, again back to kind of research and assurance industry back. We have seen this journey that how incremental changes can also kind of bring lot of transformation. It's not that these are some of the changes in industry. What we are looking is not happening overnight. Okay. uh, One regulation or one particular industry best practices may be driving something, but at the same time, the community or the global climate change impacts also are we are kind of feeling it in person, kind of in our families, in our societies where we live. And that has really accelerated the thought process, and then the climate activism, the overall. So I would personally say that the journey, what we are seeing it, we are just seeing maybe the tip of the iceberg as of now, and there would be a kind of a rapid transition with the advent of technology, which is expected over next maybe 3 to 5 years of time. And things might change more than what we can imagine, at a pace what we will expect to as of. So you have seen, starting of this year, there was not much buzz about AI, right? Okay, AI was taking at a kind of its own course in a lab, in a quantum, some of the large companies were doing it, and one consumer centric application has changed the world and perception about AI, right? And then how AI can be integrated in a day to day life. I think this it doesn't take year. Now the next change, we are just entering 2024. Something new will come which will again progress, make that progress. So, and then the policy and the entire ecosystem which we are. Sorry. So what we are seeing, the benefit of this will further outline the entire kind of challenges or the barrier what we have when it comes to technology. So my perspective is that we need to prepare ourselves, and as well as our whoever our stakeholders and associates, for this rapid transition. And then wherever it is possible to adopt technology in kind of mitigation, adaptation, finance. We have partners in this room who are really taking this for last kind of over a decade now in this actively, and then trying to build those solutions. um, and then we have to create a environment of trust also on this, and then how investors can also rely on some of these technologies and the platform which you all are building, and supported by kind of some kind of credibility uh, inbuilt into it. So I would say this is what is kind could be a outlook, and then probably we would see a kind of rapid transition in next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah,
Just any
just
quick reflection.
Absolutely. I am a big believer, unless it becomes personal for each one of us, like with Chat GPT or AI, that made it real, like the power of AI, what I can do without even knowing. I mean, I know about technology, but anyone had the power to just do whatever they wanted to with it, play with it. So unless people see what climate change will do, the negative impacts, and I take action personally, I think that so we're hopefully we're going to get there soon.
Sophia?
I couldn't agree more with this point. I think it has to be personal for each and one of us. And I love your question because you combine the personal journey and the professional journey. For me, the personal journey started probably when I was around 12. I was just brought up in a family that really cared for the planet, and my dad took me traveling around the world. We would travel at least half a year every year, and I would live in places like Africa, India, Indonesia, literally all around the world. And I don't know if it was intentional or not, but we spoke a lot about SDGs in general. I did not know that it was called SDG back then. I don't know if my dad did, because he was Russian as well, but I'm not really sure. But in any case, these are the topics that I'm still very passionate about. When the time came for me to choose the university degree, I went to study politics and economics at the London School of Economics, and it kind of organically continued in this route as well, because I would study a lot of policies and then understand how it impacts the microeconomy business as well. So it was a very general degree in overall, but again, I just continued to care a lot about issues like climate change, education, and a few others as well. And then straight after uni, and it comes where my professional journey begins, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, because I feel like we always need to focus on solutions rather than just talking about problems. It's also very important, but I wanted to be one of those people who brings solutions to the market. And I started playing with technology a bit, building different platforms. My first business was in the food and actually sustainable food industry. So I did play a lot with B2C and B2B platforms, got to, as you said, play with technology as well. But I really realized that my true passion comes from scaling and talking to customers. As you said, I find the most fascinating process. I love learning from people. I love talking to them. So that's why I'm responsible for marketing and sales, because I kind of take the technology, and we've built a very strong team, which is led not by me, but by my co-founder, who's an AI genius, and he's in Fortune 30 under 30. But we've managed to build a really strong team. So he takes care of technology, because I feel like he's the most knowledgeable person. I'm very passionate about it, but that's his strong side. So we've combined forces, and now I think we do have this synergy where his team builds the product. I learn as much as I can about it, and then I help to bring it to the market, basically talk to customers, understand their problems, understand the challenges, where there's data, or even communicating to their stakeholders. As you said, there are so many different people involved, right? Suppliers, stakeholders, sometimes even media. Clients come to us and they're like, okay, we're on this way transitioning to net zero, but we want to make sure that we use your platform to be able to communicate the progress, not just talk about it and share some quotes from our C-level executives, but to be able to show the progress in numerical terms as well. So yeah, that's my journey. I'm very passionate about technology. I'm very hopeful. In general, technology gives me hope. I do believe it should be personal for everyone. I do believe that there's a lot of room for partnerships in general, and this is just an area where we should never be competitive. We should work with each other as much as possible. Again, it comes back to the stakeholders point, but it is a very urgent problem, and I feel like artificial intelligence is probably the most powerful solution that is being developed very rapidly, that is growing really fast with OpenAI, or just in so many bright minds being involved in developing AI. So I do believe that we should take AI, the most powerful technology, and apply it to the biggest problem out there, climate change. And this is exactly what we're doing.
Yes, my personal journey for the environment is too far. So maybe start directly on the carbon footprint, climate change, because it was almost 20 years ago. For the development of the standard for carbon footprint of organization. And I started to work in this ISO working group. And in 2006, I had my first COP, a lot of years ago even. And what surprised me was the opportunity to have a community where you may have exchanged the same kind of sensitivity, the same kind of view. Because when I used to go back at home, the awareness was very low at the time. So I had the need to go back in the ISO working group and the COP to exchange view with people that was looking the same direction. No? In some way, it was such to have an iceberg, the top of the iceberg, and then over the time the iceberg was growing. The people was more aware, not only at home but even the business and in connection with the companies, and then the company moving more forward in some way was also the demonstration that another bigger part of the iceberg was below the water. It was growing. And now we just Nicola mentioned before. Now we have the growing number. Now we see the difference, and also Anirban said the acceleration. So in this moment, we recognize that a lot of work was done in the past. We are part of the transformation, this kind of revolution reality, and we are in the right moment now because the things is happening now, and we need to do more. We need to be in connection to network each others. And the digitalization for sure will play a key role in this area, because when the number is growing so fast in terms of need of update of number of numbers, or number of data, then you need to have to use the digitalization. Otherwise, it will be impossible to manage all this kind of stuff. So yes, so this is my part of my journey, and I'm sure that next year we will meet here maybe again, and we will discover that in 1 year a lot of things change radically, because this is a part of the acceleration of the process.
Maybe any reflection, final?
Oh no, I completely agree with everyone, and I hope we make enough progress and then we hold ourselves accountable. And I don't know if there's a mechanism where every COP compares itself to the previous COP to see what the journey's been, how much progress we've made. I think that would be another, and to share that data with the community to keep everyone accountable, right?
Sorry, I want to react because it's a very important point. For one side, if you look at the number of people participating at the COP, is incredible. It's growing. It's like the iceberg I mentioned before. Because if a lot of people come here to show experience, to exchange view, even it's not only the negotiation, it's the stakeholder, the civil society part that is growing more. And I think it is really the possibility to push the market, to push the politics also, to push the reality in this direction. Because I want to underline one point. When we have the COP in 2009, it was a really dramatic COP because it failed dramatically. And at that time, the COP was driving the process. So the policymakers was driving the world, giving the direction. After this fail, what is happening now is the real world is driving the politics. They are going very slow. We are going fast. So they are following the reality, because the commitment to triple the renewable energy is not needed, because the work is already going this direction. So it's important in any case, but I mean, it's some kind of obligation. They are in the corner following the real world. And for this reason, I think that the growing number, the growing connection that is every year more important is pushing more the change than what is doing from the policymakers.
Can I just very quickly add to that? I couldn't agree more. And to my surprise, when we started rolling out our product, we got actually approached by a few governments, and I shared privately with you. We were never planning to work with governments, never our intention. We were always B2B SaaS company. And today we're working with Monaco, UK, France, Switzerland, Singapore, and talking to the local government as well. And as you said, to my surprise, they're listening to us. A startup that has a technological solution to the problem, but we are the driving force, which is absolutely incredible. They want to see how to change regulations, how to encourage businesses, maybe subsidies. Well, like with the Swiss government, for example, they've opened up a budget for all Swiss businesses who use our platform, and they subsidize the whole product for them. So it's incredible, here we are as a startup, and then there are governments listening to us, and this is the synergy that we need, and hopefully, that's what's going to bring the change.
Just one more thing to add. I think inclusion is also very important. So we include the people that are impacted by it, right, in the decision-making process of whether it's the governments and how do we bring the perhaps industry, academia, and the governments to whether it's making regulations or policy or whatever it is. It's informed from a place of people who have lived that reality, and so just okay.
I think, yeah.
Well, this has been fantastic, and you've made my job very easy, so I'm very grateful. So I have lots of questions, but I did promise the floor that I would let them ask questions, and I know we have viewers online. So before I jump in with my questions, does anyone from the floor have questions? It's been a lot of information, so I get it. It's all been fascinating. It can be a lot to take in. So I know you'll be thinking about it for the rest of the day. But on the theme of time passing, someone mentioned 2024, and that's only in a few weeks, which is absolutely terrifying. And we only have 5 minutes left because it's been such an amazing conversation. I will end with the question of where you see the opportunities to collaborate.
Together, you mean? Or but I see many opportunities to collaborate with the companies on the panel. I mean, the DNV for sure. I think we need to provide customers integrated solutions and easy way to streamline their processes and make them verifiable. ServiceNow is a cloud provider for many big enterprises. DNV is a verifier / auditor for many processes, and I think that the two things should combine. And this is where I really see the role of distributed ledger, because they help this collaboration to happen in a digital way and verifiable way, so that it's not trust in individual people or entities. It's truly trust in the process, and of course, I mean, I think all of us we share the same objective, and we should kind of being more integrated from a digital perspective, which I think should happen.
One reflection also, if you look at journey of a kind of industry, a specific sector, you will also see there is a variation of penetration of digitalization in different industry. Hard to abate sectors are trying to catch up. IT industries, of course, they as a part of their inherent nature of the business, they're slightly ahead. But one is when it comes to one stakeholder who is providing strategy, or kind of strategic direction, where to go, how to begin, and then comes what would be the policy, procedures, manual, what could be the right KPIs, and then what to meet your kind of goals. Then comes the entire monitoring, measurement, whether you are achieving it, and then before disclosing, you want to also kind of verify it to make it a more credible disclosure, right? So in the entire ecosystem now, as Nicola mentioned, that there is an integrated approach which is needed, because when we are talking about MRV or DMRV, digital monitoring, reporting and verification, I mean, maximum solutions, if you see globally, the V part is not actually integrated at all. Okay, but we are calling it's like a DMRV solution, right? but where is the verification? The methodologies are, and even if the verification is kind of integrated, it is not to the extent that the end-to-end process is digitalized, from documentation to data collection to even methodologies through which the carbon disclosures are coming. And now there are a lot of new solutions are also getting emerged, from carbon removal to kind of nature-based solutions to different aspects of it. So how do you basically create a holistic kind of ecosystem with all the partners who can play their role, and then that kind of I would say a super app of kind of DMRV is required, and that is what probably going to drive the change for some of the large corporate. We were kind of meeting with some of the chief sustainability officers of SAP, or some of the technology companies also. They were talking, yes, we provide a sustainability cloud, but is your sustainability cloud, how much time, my question was, how much time you require to deploy the same for a conglomerate presence is 100 countries? This is maybe 2-3 years. I said, is it then the viable solution? Of course the company might go for you because of your brand, reliability, support, all of this, but is it solving the problem of today? May not be. So we have to look at this as a kind of problem statement, and how we can look at this development of collaborative ecosystem.
So we have some factual data. The market for our activity is exploding. We are not able to follow all the requests almost. So we are very busy all the time. So if you receive requests from 20 countries instead of 3 or 4, I think you will be a little bit busy. So, and the real competition we have is with some other subject, not competent, is jumping on the market. But we really need to have cooperation, collaboration with competent organization, bodies, and people, because we need to face this kind of request. So really, I see a lot of opportunity from the different perspective, because if we are looking the same direction, if we want to have a reliable, transparent information and high-level services to the clients, then we have to collaborate.
I will answer that question from a startup point of view, and there are 2 points that I want to make. First of all, we do work with a lot of customers who want to measure their data, but they use estimates. Which again is a challenge on its own, because you talk to them, you kind of have to inspire them to go for granular data. And from our side, we do want to verify it as well. So funny enough, you are here because we do have one customer here in UAE who work with you, and they're like, oh, it would be really good to combine forces with DNV specifically. And I was like, yeah, that it would be because we would want to verify the data for our sake as well. So that's one point. And the second point is that similar to what you've mentioned, but we, for example, have a very strong IT team, right? So our developers, they come from big companies like Google, and we move very, very fast. So very often we talk to huge companies like IBM, for example, who also have a similar product to ours. But for us to develop a new feature, we move much, much faster. So it takes a lot less time. But when it comes to going after huge companies as clients, well, that's what we do, right? We very often want to align in terms of product, and this is where we could work together, align the product, see how we can add value to the product, for example, and then go after huge companies as well. We're kind of very good at reaching out to them and getting even inbound when it comes to sales. But again, it's important for us to be able to partner up with large companies, because we're a startup and we can move faster and create more impact for clients, for the end user.
Thank you.
Oh, I think everything important has been said. So I am a big believer in ecosystem. I don't think we can solve everything alone. So you need people who fill the gaps, if you will, in whether it's your product, whatever it is. So it's a very intentional process, and I think collectively we can definitely change and solve every important problem that exists. So thank you again.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and sharing your stories. This has left me very inspired and hopeful for the future. And I'm sure all of our audience in person and online feel the same. So I expect us to come back in 2024 and you'll have combined forces into the super app that you mentioned. And every Fortune 500 company will be using the new product. So I would like 1% though. So we'll see. Then I can retire. Oh, thank you so much. Brilliant. Thanks so much, guys. That was really fantastic. Yeah.